The ego tends to love to keep ourselves in a small bubble because it feels though it's safe. And it doesn't want you going outside of that bubble to try something risky because you may fall and you may fail.
The millennial generation is as follows.
Welcome to
Surrounded by Idiots
Radio Podcast.
All right. From the shadow of Camelback Mountain in the beautiful, picturesque city of Scottsdale, Arizona, United States of, your guess is as good as mine at this point, this is the Surrounded by Idiots Radio Podcast. This is modern-day philosophy for us to figure our shit out, basically, what it comes down to. I'm Tony Dufresne, PhD. Good to have you back with me. Hey, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. I didn't do a show last week. It's been that way for, I don't know, a couple months now, because I have, after a while, I've been doing this for, and this is actually the show, so stay with me. I've been doing this show for 3 years now. It's like 150 some odd episodes. And of course, we started out, if you've heard from the very beginning, it started out kind of like a relationship thing. And it was myself and Lexi, and we did started called the Walk of Shame Radio Podcast, and then I went to Surrounded by Idiots because I wanted to mix it up. I wanted it to be more about just personal growth, about us just figuring out all of our stuff together, and me trying to kind of give you little tips and tricks in terms of how to get past your own boundaries. And since that time, it's been sort of an up and down ride, and I've been doing my online course and trying to figure that out, as well as online presence and social media. You know how it goes. I mean, it's just not even trying to be an influencer, but just trying to get the word out there. Because like you, I would assume, I just want to help as many people as possible. And of course, that's the best part about the internet and the best part about social media is the fact that it's such a great platform to do that. So that leads us up to the last couple months where I've been trying to figure out, once you get in and you do a lot of research, do you overthink the room like I do? I think I've actually done a couple podcasts on overthinking the room. And I do that all the time because I'll go to all the different social media outlets and I'll take a look at all the different pages. And what do they have? The same shit. They have all the same stuff. And you've got guys like Jay Shetty that go on and do this very romantic, picturesque, soft music in the background stuff. I'm not saying this stuff is bad. I'm just saying it's the same stuff. It's just repackaged a different way. And my whole angle has always been to be blunt and to tell it like it is, and to work off of my philosophy background, my doctorate background in terms of all the research and the emphasis I put in to applied philosophy, which is really philosophical thinking and guidelines and steps and things that you can always kind of conjure up every single day. You can think of every single day that are going to help you. Old time philosophy stuff. It's boring as hell. Actually, I think it is. And it's just like one man's opinion. It's Aristotle's opinion or Socrates' opinion or any of those guys' opinion. And does that matter to you? Probably not. But what I'm trying to do is kind of take bits and pieces of all of them and apply it to the real world as it is right now for all of us. And of course, we all come from different perspectives, and that's the whole point. The point is that finding your tribe, if you hear what I'm saying and it does, and you actually hear me, it's not that you're listening to me, but you hear what I'm saying and there's a connection there, then we're a part of the same tribe. And it's becoming, in overthinking the room on all that stuff in terms of how I can kind of twist things a little bit differently or just say things a little bit differently to create that unique type of vehicle, that unique type of product to where you tribe members out there, other tribe members will go, yeah, I get that. This is the journey of all YouTube people and all people that have podcasts and all people that want to be influential on a large scale. Which again, so I've been overthinking the room, and it's frustrating the shit out of me, like major frustration, like major eating issues in terms of always hungry because I eat my feelings, and I always have. And that's been a huge issue with me, especially because I've had body dysmorphia, and I was a bigger kid when I was growing up. And, of course, even if you're a bigger kid growing up, they call you a fat ass, right? So, of course, that's there. And so I've been dealing with that and probably drinking too much and trying to divert my attention from this with anything possible. I mean, taking out the trash. I would rather do that than sit down and try to get through this. But after a while, it's like anything. Do you ever have that thing where you get frustrated and you're pissed and you feel like shit, and maybe you're drinking too much, or you just can't face what it is, and finally you just say, finally you get enough leverage, there's enough energy behind you, and you can't take it anymore, and you just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna, and it takes all that hesitation away, and you just go in and you just jump in. And it doesn't mean that you jump in and everything's great. Sometimes you jump in and you just fall flat on your face. But at least you're taking the action steps to jump in and to do something about that thing that's been hovering over you. And I finally reached that point yesterday and started getting some stuff done in terms of the online course and working on my Ask campaign, that's the big step that I had to get to in terms of what can I put together for you guys, knowing what I do and knowing what I do for my private clients and how I work with them. What sort of small little thing can I put together? What offer can I put together that would most benefit as many of you guys as possible? And that's been something that's been swimming around in my head because there's so much to talk about. I've done 150 some odd things and different topics, pretty much all of them. And there's a million other ones to talk about, right? Different circumstances, different life situations, different ages, and different things, transformation stuff that you're going through at different times in your life. Boy, girl, male, female differences in terms of perspective. So I finally did power through it, and I finally did say fuck it. And this is a part of the powering through doing this particular podcast. And I'm sorry if it seems like a whine or vent, but there is a point to this. And I hope you can learn a little something from my insane levels of frustration that I'm still holding on to a little bit, not going to lie to you. But it reminded me of a story about the speed of sound and breaking the sound barrier. So there was this test pilot named Chuck Yeager. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was 1947 when he did this. Out in the desert, and test pilots, they were trying to break the sound barrier for a few years, and they had these. The jets were first invented at that time, and they had a few guys ahead of him, test pilots ahead of him, get into these jets and get up there and hit in the afterburners and get up to the point where they want to break the sound barrier. Well, I think it was 4 guys, if I can remember correctly, before him. What happened was that they get up to a point right before the sound barrier, just getting up to that point. Nobody's ever been there before, and they're in these planes. The thing starts shaking like crazy. The jets just start shaking uncontrollably, and they're starting to lose control of the instruments, and everything's going crazy in the stick, and they're trying to keep it. And what happened was the 4 guys before Yeager, every single time it got up to that point where they just barely got to the sound barrier and things are going crazy, they backed off. And from what I can remember, at least a couple of those guys crashed because once they backed off, everything got super fucked up, and they had to catapult out of that thing, eject out of the airplane, and then land in the desert and crash and stuff. So Yeager gets in the plane, and it was the X-15. Just let me nerd out for a second. And he named after his wife, which was really cute. It's called the Glamorous Glennis, I think. And he got up there in 1947 and started rolling through. And it was different stages. They had afterburner and superjet and the different engines, and he's pushing up the accelerator, and he's got right up to the point where everybody else got to, all these other guys. Like right up to the edge. And things are going nuts. I mean, the instruments are cracking. He can barely keep the plane under control. And right at that point, instead of just bailing on it, thinking things are going to explode, he punched it. punched it. Another afterburner. Boom. Punched it. And once he punched it and gave it gas and pushed through that was it. Boom. Got through the sound barrier and everything went like totally smooth as glass as soon as he got through that. And that's the point of all of this, of me and my frustrations and you going through certain frustrations in your life where you've got something that you know you got to do or you got to deal with, or you have something that you have to dive into in order to get to the next level of your own life or your in your job or in your relationship, or just you getting into a passion project or like some sort of a purpose. There's always those barriers that we put up because we feel as though things started getting shaky in our plane. Things are getting all messed up, and we're thinking, "Oh, Jesus, man, the things are going nuts here." And what I learned from that, listening to that a long time ago, and of course, finally taking it to heart, was just punch it. Just push through. When you do push through, think of Chuck Yeager in the airplane. When he pushed through, when he just gassed it and gave it that extra afterburner, once it hit through, after all the shit that was going on, it went smooth sailing because he got past that point. Now, for us, we're not going through a sound barrier. We're going through our own mental barriers that we put up for ourselves, which are as strong, if not stronger, because we tend to love to keep ourselves, the ego tends to love to keep ourselves in a small bubble because it feels though it's safe. And it doesn't want you going outside of that bubble to try something risky because you may fall and you may fail. And God forbid you fail, right? Because what's going to happen? Apparently you die. That's what the ego thinks. And that's why it's so hard to get through stuff. But my lesson for today is, and for myself too, this is not just for everybody else. And remember, all of us everybody's got their own shit that they go through. Every single person. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you're the Dalai Lama or Tony Robbins or whomever you think has their shit together and everything's great. It's not. There's always stuff going on that everybody has to go through, their own little personal battles. But the key is, and like Richard Branson has said over and over and over, as well as many other people, I guess, once you fall down, you just got to get up and say, I'm not going to let this defeat me. And really think about it for a second. You got one life. Unless you think of reincarnation, but as this point in this consciousness right now, me and you got one life. So why waste it by just sitting back and being defeated on something and not just keep pushing through to something that you would want to do? I understand that, but I don't. And I understand it because I did it, and now I don't understand it because I realize that we can all do it. And and if you look back, I bet you anything that you can find at least a couple examples in your own life that you have done that. And maybe you think, those are not that big of a deal. It was just me at some, school research project, and I'm the one who, whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that it doesn't matter if you scale it. Certainly, it doesn't matter if you think it's more important or less important. The same rules apply to getting up out of bed 10 minutes early so you can get to work on time. That is just as important as doing some big, huge thing or finishing some speech at school or a presentation and then, nailing the presentation and getting the client. It's really the same thing if you think about it, because they're all victories. They're all little victories. And they all empower you. They empower you to know that you have the ability to do things and to make shit happen. And that's the key. So I hope you're well. I hope things are going well. Again, I'm going to start running an Ask campaign on a lot of different platforms. I want to ask you, especially you guys and all my Facebook I hate that word. Our Facebook tribe and the Instagram tribe and you guys out there who listen to this show and have been listening for a long time, and I thank you for that very much. It's what you guys. If I were to ask you, what's your biggest obstacle in you getting to the point where you are getting what you want? What's your biggest obstacle in you taking the next step into something that you would like to do? What's your issue with creating something brand new that you want to create, or starting a new relationship that you want to start? These are the questions I'm going to ask in the Ask campaign. If you don't want to wait for that and you want to just to let me know, because again, the more you let me know, the better I can make it for you to help you out, because there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about and a lot of programs that I can do, because, the self-help industry is $10 billion a year. And there's a reason why. There's a lot of little things to talk about in the self-help industry. And again, a lot of people buy lots of books, and a lot of the books that are out there don't really help you. They just rah you into you getting all fired up and then doing nothing because there's no action plan. So, but that's here nor there. So if you can answer that question, I would be deeply grateful for that, because then I can take that information and I can it can help me to create my course to help you to get to where you want to go. So you can reach me at tony@javabud.com. You can go to javabud.com and watch everything, but you can also contact me from my website. Again, hope things are good. Remember to drink your Ovaltine, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.